What's happening, YouTube? It's your boy Kite Cosmic here, but you can call me Kite, man. It's easier. I insist. You feel me? So today we're gonna talk about how Sukuna got to be as strong as he is. Why am I trying to figure out how Sukuna got so strong? Because in my opinion, I can only speak for myself. You feel me? I can't speak for others and how they interpreted the series. But I believe Sukuna is the strongest person in the series. Like, I'm not crazy. Gojo says it. Yuta says it. Everyone that ever witnessed Sukuna knows it. Like, it's really not up for debate. They kind of like spoon feed it to us. But like, hey, people are gonna think what they want to think, and it is what it is, man. It's not my job to convince them. Hey, we all gotta go about life. It doesn't really matter who you think is what. I'm just saying. I can give you my evidence. You can give me your evidence. Doesn't mean we can convince each other. You feel me? I like to think my evidence is a little better though, but that's not the point. We're gonna talk about how Sukuna got to be that strong, because by all means, nothing about Sukuna is natural. He should not be that strong. He should not be stronger than someone that can manipulate space and stop any attack from ever reaching his body while teleporting and like controlling freaking black holes and reversing black holes and creating matter erasing ball. Like, you should not be stronger than someone like that. You should not be able to beat someone like that. So how do you even get to a level where you can contend with that? That's what we're going to talk about. Before we get into that though, like the video. If you like the video, if you already know how some people feel like your heart is beating, like you can't even stop, you can't even get past the part, if you made it past the part where I said Sukuna was stronger than Gojo, I know it's eating you alive right now, bro. And I don't understand why y'all get so upset about that. Like, there's like so much evidence. Not only are there statements, but we're not gonna get into that, man. If you made it past that part and your heart isn't ruined, you're not mad at me, like the video, man. If you like the video, I would appreciate it if you show some love, man. Don't be hating off the rip, and subscribe if you want to continue to see content like that where we kind of theorize and talk about stuff that's not really talked about. I would appreciate it, man. Stick around for the long haul. For those of you who are just stopping by, hi and bye, man. Maybe I'll catch you in another video. So, quick outline. We're going to talk about some methods on how Sukuna got to be so strong. Some that are obvious, but some that are like lightly, very loosely implied to the point where you definitely missed it. Like, you were like, oh, all right. But there are definitely reasons why Sukuna is as strong as he is, and they can be explained pretty easily. So let's get the first and the easiest out of the way. Sukuna has two sets of all the most important components of wielding cursed energy. This is not how he got strong. This is just innately why he is strong. He has two sets of eyes, two sets of arms, and two mouths. You got chanting, you got hand signs, and you got perceiving and seeing cursed energy. The most important things about wielding sorcery. Has two of all those. Next, obviously, is also another thing he didn't work or train for. We're going to get to the training methods here in about a few seconds, but just stick with me. His cursed energy. He was born with an immense, the most in the story by far. Yuta had more than Gojo, and Yuta himself stated Sukuna has probably more than double what Yuta has. Right? That is ridiculous. I don't even know what to say about that, because we're seeing in the anime in JJK season 3 how Sukuna or Yuta's energy whirls up like a tornado around his body. We don't see that around anyone else. And so Sukuna has more than that. God, bro, it's probably like a situation where they asked, if you've seen Soul Eater, they asked Death, hey, where's your soul at? I can't see it. And it was like encompassing the whole city. It was so big that they were in it and couldn't see it. Ridiculous. It's probably like some shit like that for Sukuna. But those are like components on why he is strong. But having a freakish body and a lot of energy does not mean you're going to be strong, right? Because you need the tools to wield that and effectively put it into action. And how do you get to a level where you can manipulate that? That's what we're going to talk about. So for my first strange and special, unique training method for Sukuna, it's going to be simply that Sukuna grew up in the wild and became so familiar with using his technique. Okay. What I mean by this is you see this in the series where you see Uraume with Sukuna when Uraume was young, and they were just not familiar with their technique, and they were like, like every time I do, like, it gets cold and people freeze, and Sukuna kills some like animals, obviously to eat, because that's how Sukuna ate. He killed his own food. He like that's how he lived in the wild. He was an unwanted child, so you can assume that he had to do everything by himself, and his only means of power is his technique, cutting stuff up and fire, cooking it. So he tells Uraume, stay right here and keep this meat and stuff cold, right? That's a method, not just telling Uraume what to do, but letting Uraume use their power and understand that, hey, my power is useful. It's not all harmful. It can be put to good use. So maybe I should try to use it and become more familiar with it. If Sukuna like tells Uraume to do that, it's obvious that Sukuna used that method himself or discovered that by using his own power. So I think that Sukuna just used his power. Like, imagine this, right? There's a giant mountain that Sukuna has to climb to get to where the food is at, or to get to warmer areas, or to get to wherever he's going to get. And he has to climb it. There's no cars and shit like that. So he's like, how do I climb this mountain? Well, I have my technique, but slashing doesn't really do much for me here. I guess I could slash and try to jump up to footholds. But then he thinks, wait, if I can make a bunch of small, tiny slashes constantly go off around my hands, I can dig in to the rock and climb my way up. So he creates sort of pseudo infinity, like Gojo's infinity. He creates pseudo infinities with the slashes around his hands and like climbs up the rock. He'd get up there and be like, wow, like I didn't know I could do that. That's pretty cool. And that is something he does. I don't know if that's how he discovered it, but like that could be a way he discovered it. He did this against Yuta. He made a pseudo domain or a pseudo infinity around his hand using a bunch of slashes to stop Yuta's blade, right? And to stop it from cutting his hand. That's a genius application of his power that doesn't come innately with it. Innately, it's just I send a slash and I can touch you and cut you depending on your energy. That's not an innate application of his ability. He came up with that. It's really smart, and you can only come up with something like that if you familiarize yourself with your ability. And that's just not how it works in today's society with Jujutsu. They use their powers as a tool in a job to exorcise monsters or curses. When they're not at their job, they're not using their power. Do you think Megumi's going around using the 10 shadows and just take his dogs on a walk? No, they don't do that. They train, they do their job, and they don't use their technique. Sukuna, having grown up in the wilderness and being unwanted in an area where there was no technology, no nothing, probably used his technique a lot in everyday life. He could use it to make skates and skate across the ground really fast by making slashes on the bottom of his feet. Like, he familiarized himself with his technique by using it every single day, and he's the only person that we know of to really do something like that. Like, we understand that that's how he lived, right? And so that's my first way that Sukuna got as strong as he is that he familiarized himself with his ability more than anyone, because that's Shrine is not like this broken ability. It's really not. It's only broken because Sukuna has it, and we know that because we saw Yuta try to use it. We saw Itadori try to use it, Yuji, and like they kind of struggled with it, right? And they're the strongest, the top of their little class in their own era. So like even them using it, like it was pretty good and it do pretty good against other people, but it wouldn't be anywhere near what Sukuna could do. So yeah, Sukuna's the most familiar, and he familiarized himself by just struggling and surviving in the wild, only using his technique. Nobody ever did that. No one else had to do that, at least in the new era. So that's why he's a demon like that. Okay, my next reason for why he got to be as strong as he is, or how he got to be so strong, was because I believe Sukuna engaged in more 1v1 or battles between humans than anyone. In today's era, they fight curses. In Sukuna's era, yeah, there were curses, probably stronger curses than there were today, because there was a lot more negative energy back in the Heian era, given where they were. They didn't have all the means and luxuries they have in 2018 or 2019 in JJK in fucking whatever year, 1912 in the Heian era. It'd go back before that. I don't know when the Heian era was, but I guarantee you they didn't have stuff like that. They had lanterns and stuff. They weren't on the internet, and there weren't cars and stuff like that. So there was a lot of negative energy going around, right? So the curses were stronger, and that probably made the curse techniques inadvertently stronger as well to deal with those curses, to protect yourself. And for some reason, the curse users were deranged as well, and they wanted to be the strongest. They wanted to defeat the strongest, and that was Sukuna. So, yeah, Sukuna had to fight more curse users in history than anyone. He has the most experience in fighting other sorcerers. Simple as that. You cannot argue with that. I mean, you could say maybe Kenjaku, but I don't think he spent his time fighting other people. You kind of see Kenjaku's life and see that he got along with people like Ryu. He's like, yo, you're strong, I'm strong. We don't got to fight. Hey, let me just turn you into a cursed object and you can come back later. Like, he didn't spend his time fighting people. Although he's lived as long and he's lived way longer. He actually lived those 1,000 years. Sukuna didn't live those 1,000 years. He probably lived a regular human lifespan and then died and was an object for that 1,000 years. So not probably, that's exactly what happened. So we can infer that in his whatever, how many years of life, the mortality rate was crazy back then. Like, they didn't live to fucking 60 years old. Sukuna probably didn't live to 50. Like, I don't even think it was 50. Like, 30 was the age obviously he probably lived longer than that because he's a sorcerer. But let's just say he lived to 75. He fought sorcerers every single day. Super strong sorcerers, stronger, like, just on a base level than the ones that are in Gojo and Yuta and all them, their era. So he did that constantly. He fought the Void Generals. He fought people in groups. They came to come and try to take his life, right? That's when they talk about showing, I want to show you the meaning of love. In my interpretation, that just means I'm going to be the one to kill you. I'm going to relieve you of your duties as the strongest. I'm going to relieve you of the burden of life. We see many people talking about that. And when they're talking about that, they're talking about killing the other person. Yorozu was like, I'm going to be the one to kill you. I'm going to show you what love means. And that means you're going to die by my hands. Kashimo, I want people to show love. He was trying to kill Sukuna. Gojo, I wanted to show Sukuna what the meaning of love was. I was trying to kill him. Like, it's not rocket science. They lay it out for us. If you say, I want to be the one to show you the meaning of love, show you what love means, that means you're trying to kill them. There's no other way around that. That is what it means in the story. And so all these people were trying to show Sukuna the meaning of love, and he killed all of them. He even says that. How do we repay them? By killing them, right? The people are trying to show you what love means. How do we repay them? We kill them, right? Because you're defending yourself. It's just a one big metaphor on a fight, right? On what a fight means. That's dumbing it down, obviously, but that's kind of what all it is. And so all these people are trying to do that, and he kills all of them. Doesn't matter if you come in a group, doesn't matter if you come 1v1, doesn't matter what your techniques are. He's defeated countless people and stood at the top, at the pinnacle. And so that plays a big part in why he's the strongest, because that didn't happen. Gojo didn't live that life. He's the closest thing ever to Sukuna, and he didn't live that life, and that puts him at a disadvantage. It's not Gojo's fault. He was born with a technique that is the best technique in the series, right? Not really. It is the best technique if you control it, if you have the six eyes, but it is the strongest technique in the series in a fundamental level when you just get it. And that wasn't enough. It was never going to be enough, because you technically, bro, I hate to philosophize, that's a word, on this, or talk about philosophy. But when they asked Gojo, or when Geto said, are you the strongest because you're Satoru Gojo, or are you Satoru Gojo because the strongest? We all know what that means. Are you strong because of who you are as a person, or are you strong because of what you were born with and what you were gifted and who you were born as? And we all like to come to the conclusion that, well, he's strong because he was Gojo. And I tend to agree with that when I see the Gojo Sukuna fight. That was not the Limitless technique doing all that. Obviously it was, but Gojo put that shit together. That was all him. But at the same time, he's overly reliant on his technique, and that is why he ultimately died. Because he relied on the infinity, not thinking that anything would ever pierce the infinity like that, right? And that's how he got caught off guard, as the author said. It's not like Gojo turned his back to Sukuna. Like, that's not what he means by off guard. What he means by off guard is that he expected, yeah, the fight's kind of winding down and over. There's nothing really he can do. Maharaga's gone. He has not a lot of energy. He was like, yeah, and the spectators were narrating it too. Like, Sukuna doesn't really have anything. He doesn't have enough to maintain domain amplification. He let his guard down by assuming that Sukuna had no tricks left. It's not like he turned his back to him. He relied on his technique, let his guard down, and died. So that ultimately, when Geto asked that question, I like that. That's a beautiful question. And I think that ultimately Geto might have been right to ask that question. And Gojo's not strong because of who he is as a person. He's strong because of the technique he was born with. You could interpret it that way. Honestly, there's ways to interpret it as both, because I just said I believed that he's strong because of who he is as a person, because of the fight and display he put on with Gojo or with Sukuna. That's all him, bro. That's his brainchild, coming up with all these techniques, hitting these clips, blue, red, purple. That's all him, bro. Anybody with that ability can't do all that. But at the same time, he loses because that's all he knows. Like, his ability is him. When you think of the Limitless, that's Gojo. Gojo's known for the Limitless. He's not known for being this great sorcerer and having like, oh, Gojo's really good. Like, he can teach you this, this, and that. No, Gojo's not. He's not on that level. He doesn't understand reverse curse technique. He can't even explain simple domain. He doesn't fundamentally understand what he's doing. And when you do everything on instinct, he's no different from Yuta or Hikari, who are both they stated multiple times in the series that, oh, like, I do reverse curse. Hikari says, I do this on instinct. And then in another instant, Yuta said he does something instinctually as well. I think when trying to heal another person, he was like talking about, I do it on instinct. When you do something on instinct, you don't understand it. That's Gojo as well. He can just do more on instinct than other people, which is why he's at the pinnacle. But when you meet someone that can do everything and not on instinct, it's because they know exactly how to do it. They know step by step how this got to this and why this links up with this and how this all works. You're not going to beat them. And we saw that. And I think it's pretty obvious what was being set up. Gojo, at least at the beginning of the story, was strong because of his technique. Then he ran into Toji, had an awakening, and then became strong because he was Gojo. And then ultimately, I think he died being strong because he was born as Satoru Gojo, because his technique was pretty much all he relied on at the very end. At least at the very end, it was his technique, man. And if he didn't have his technique, if he didn't have the Limitless and Six Eyes, I mean, he wouldn't last more than 3 minutes against Sukuna, right? If you take Sukuna's shrine away, if you take the 10 shadows away, take Gojo and Sukuna and you spin a roulette wheel and give them both a random technique, who wins the fight? Sukuna's gonna win it, probably 10 times out of 10, right? So that just lets you know who is stronger. He just understands sorcery better. He's better at manipulating it. Gojo's better at efficiency because of the Six Eyes, but Sukuna is literally right there. It's stated. Sukuna only edges him out a little bit because he has the Six Eyes. So, like, bro, it's not really a competition. This experience that Sukuna has puts him at the peak. And they tell us over and over again, Sukuna is the peak. Sukuna is the peak. Gojo, he's strong. I couldn't defeat him even if he didn't have the 10 shadows. I don't know what I would do. Yuta, we're facing the strongest sorcerer. He's talking to Sukuna. Everyone knows it, except for like these people that don't know how to read or whatever. I don't get it, bro. People are going to believe what they want to believe, and that's why there's this whole discourse about Gojo versus Sukuna when it's really pretty cut and dry. Sukuna's stronger, not just because he beat Gojo, just because there's just no really win condition that Gojo had. Like I said, he dodges the slash, then what? Right, another one's coming. And you're not going to dodge that one because you didn't even know what the nature of the first one was. And the Six Eyes isn't going to tell you what the fucking target of something is. That's not how the Six Eyes works. So there's just no way for him to beat something like that. So yeah, those are my reasonings on why I think, or how Sukuna got to be so strong, because he's the most familiar in the series with his technique, and he's fought the most people. He's had the most fights against strong curse users, against strong humans, not curses. Gojo grew up fighting curses. Sukuna grew up fighting curse users, humans with devilish minds. Like, we all know, bruh, humans are worse. It's just like JJK is really similar to Hunter x Hunter. The curses really aren't that bad. It's the fucking humans that are the worst. Sukuna is a human. Kenjaku is a human, and they do the most perverted and twisted stuff. And I don't mean perverted in the way you're thinking. I'm just saying it's super perverse what they're doing. Like, they twist the world and do weird stuff for their own, personal reasons, but nonetheless, they do it. And the same thing in Hunter x Hunter with, like, it's not the ants that are the monsters, it's the humans that are the monsters. Like, it's very similar right here. So, yeah, he's fights curses, and like fighting curse users will give you way better training than fighting cursed spirits. So that's why I think Sukuna is the strongest. Let me know your thoughts. I hope you managed to get past the whole I think Gojo is weaker than Sukuna thing. A lot of people are just so childish about that, bro. If you sit there and tell me Gojo's stronger than Sukuna, all right, bro. Like, I'll list out why he's not. But at the end of the day, if you made a good point, I wouldn't be like, oh, no. It's just when you make a good point against some people, they're just like, well, no. And I'm like, all right, bro. I can't argue with you. You don't know what you're talking about. But yeah, that's the video, guys. I'm trying to reach 2,500 subscribers by March 1st. If you would like to help me out with that, I would appreciate it. And if you subscribe up this video, drop down a video you want to see me tackle. It could be JJK, it could be Hunter x Hunter. It doesn't matter the series. If I've seen it, if it gets a decent amount of likes, bro, or if people agree with you, I'll fucking do that video. I don't care. Like, I like to tackle all concepts. I don't want to just stay in one lane. So subscribe and like the video. Help me out. I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.
君の気持ちを大事にしなかった私の頭